Peace and blessings to you. My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. And so is this brother right here. If you don't know him, you will after we spend a few minutes together. This is none other than Dr. Alton Merrell.
Hello, everybody.
He is the incredible and absolutely incredible musician. We're so grateful that you were able to come on.
Glad to be here.
Peace
Thanks
and blessings to you.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
We've known each other a long time. But the thing I
Yeah.
was thinking about today as I was preparing for this is that my respect and admiration for you has gone longer than I've even known you.
Wow. Well, I'm humble.
Well, that's the truth, man. I was sitting at a Baptist church on the south side of Youngstown, Ohio, and this 14-year-old thin kid, thin kid was on the Hammond B3 making sounds come out of that box that I didn't even know. I mean, I had to have the organ inspected.
Wow.
And it was this young man, Alton, and then it wasn't until months later that I actually went over to your church and in Warren and heard you play. Actually, your father's church.
That's right. New Jerusalem.
So, tell me your story, Mr. Merrell.
Oh, wow. Where you want me to begin?
Oh, man, you got to begin at Genesis.
Yeah. Well, I was in my mom's womb, and it was wonderful. But then I had to face the real world, so I did decide to come early. I was actually a preemie.
Oh, really?
The doctors.
How many months early?
Like 4.
Really?
I was 4 pounds 3 ounces, and the doctors gave me up to die.
Man, I tell you what, my daughter, who just received her doctorate several weeks ago, was a preemie, 2 pounds 12 ounces.
Wow.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Doctors were like very slim. So does that mean that all preemies have this incredible future?
Well, listen, I don't know. I don't know, but I do know since a young age, you know, God's involvement in my life was clearly evident.
Yes, sir.
However, you know, when God calls you to do things, there's challenges. And I see it, you know, it started at birth. And believe it or not, my mom had twins. I'm a twin.
Is that right?
And my brother didn't make it. His name, they named him Elton. E-L-T-O-N. So oftentimes I thought, I wonder if the Lord gave what was in him in me, because sometimes I feel like what he's given is just so weighty and just it's a lot. But you know, it's a privilege rather to be a servant of the Lord.
Understood.
You know, but you know, to whom much is given, much is required too.
Well, I tell you what, you have used what you've been given for His glory.
Trying.
Not trying. Not trying. I understand that, but you really have. You have stepped over, because there are many people who have had talent or have talent, and yet they're reserved for some reason. They won't take the risk. You know, it's like the parable of the talents. You know what I'm saying? And there's been some who have been gifted and blessed more than you have, but they hide it in the ground. You know what I mean?
A theme my entire life has been, Miles Monroe encapsulated like this: die empty.
That's good.
And that is something that I like to live by. I want to do everything that God said that He wants done.
Yeah. There's
a reason why we're all here, you know?
Absolutely.
And for me, I just want to pour out everything that the Lord has poured in. And, you know, so when it comes time to enter the gates and He says, well done, yeah.
He'll say,
that's really, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, that's been a constant thing. And thank God for the body of Christ.
Absolutely.
Because as you're walking, you know, the Lord will allow you to form relationships with people to help and to bring out what the things and I've been very, very fortunate to to have people in my life that have foreshadowed where I'm going.
Yes, sir.
You know, people that have mentored and people that have been great examples along the way.
Absolutely.
And so just been following the Lord, and it's been a ride.
Yeah, it has been.
It has been a ride.
And if you went to altonmerrell.com, of course, we're going to have that up on the screen. If you went to altonmerrell.com, you will see some of the accomplishments and blessings. And, I mean, we're not going to name drop just to name drop, but you've been blessed to work with some incredible people in the industry. Would you mind just sharing a few And then we're going to go back to that beginning because I have some more questions about those beginning issues.
Okay. Been fortunate to work with Kim Burrell. She recorded a song that I wrote entitled "You're the Reason."
Yeah.
Sean Jones. This is the jazz side. So Rufus Reed and that's a ton of wonderful jazz musicians. But then also on the gospel side, Donnie McClurkin, Israel Houghton. So yeah, there's been this duality, you know, the jazz side and the gospel side, and the Lord's taken me on this journey where being able to be a light in both arenas.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
So yeah, those are some of the people I've been privileged to work with, and of course people in Pittsburgh and Warren, Youngstown. Well, Warren, Youngstown is just
that's home.
Yeah, that's home.
That's
man.
incubator,
we got, but we got some of the best in Warren and Youngstown, so yeah, that's been the journey, and now at a place of birthing the music that the Lord has given me. Recorded and released a project in the past, but I got about 2 CDs worth of music.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait because I know it's in there.
Yeah.
I know it's in there because You're the Reason is an excellent CD. I mean,
thank you,
from
man.
start to finish.
Thank you.
Sometimes, and you know, I mean, you're here. I don't have to juice you up, man. But sometimes that particular CD is one where you really can't take it out. You know, once you put it in there, you got to repeat it a few times. What was that?
I hear you. I hear
what
you.
happened on that?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's a groove, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the artistry that's in you.
What
I don't know about Alton Merrell is what age was it when you knew, like, not when you were, you know, kind of like messing around, but when the age where you said, this is it, I found it.
Probably 12.
I believe it.
Probably 12.
Maybe earlier.
Because it was, I mean, I started on drums at 5.
I didn't know that.
Playing at my dad's church at 5, and then around 11, 12, there began to be an interest in the keyboard. And my dad came out of the Church of God in Christ out of St. James. And in Warren, yep. And
that's Warren, Ohio.
Right. And growing up, we would frequent there regularly. You know, and for those that know about the Kojic Church, you know, the music is rock. Every weekend.
Absolutely.
And I became obsessed with the sound of Eddie Howard.
There you go.
You know?
Right.
And so there came this, when I was like 11, 12 years old, just in my heart and my spirit, I was like, I want to play like that. I want to play like that. But you know what? Even let me backtrack. There was a speaking engagement that my dad had in Cleveland, Ohio. The pastor's last name is Frazier in Cleveland. And there was a fellowship service. He went up and spoke. And I saw this young man on the piano. He had to be like 11, 12. If I'm not mistaken, this young man is named David Frazier. And he wrote a lot of songs for Hezekiah Walker, popular hits. And I remember seeing this, and I was just taken and just mesmerized at how this young man was playing for the whole service.
Wow.
And then I also made the connection that he's doing it, you know, helping his dad out. On the way home, I remember sitting in the back seat, and I said, Dad, I'm going to play like that young man at church.
How old were you?
I was probably like 11.
Gotcha. Wow.
And it was like, that's going to happen.
What did he say?
He was affirmative. Right? Yeah, he was affirmative. Thank God. You know, my father's always been affirmative. It's like, you know, and he would say things that I would say, like, for real? He's like, yeah, you going to play better than so-and-so. But and that so-and-so was somebody I looked up to.
Yeah, right.
You know?
I understand.
But, you know, thank God he, you know, with the help of the Lord, put a spirit in me that the sky's the limit. You know, thank God for examples, fathers and their examples. You know, he got a master's degree, so when it came time to go to school, I'm like, yeah, I can, like, getting a master's degree was like, yeah, I'm going to go further, Dad.
That's it.
You know?
That's it.
But I thank God for the example and the encouragement and the space to grow in church.
That's one thing that church does. It does provide that space, that leverage, that room.
Yeah.
There's nothing like an after Sunday jam session.
Oh, yeah, and we had plenty of them. And we have musicals. Yeah. That was another thing at the church growing up. You know, we had musicals and guest choirs and bands, and they would come and share. And then, you know, of course, being the home church, you know, you preparing music and stuff. And it would just be a great big, you know, celebration and praise service, and it's nice hearing the perspective of other musicians. But yeah, it was a very cultivative atmosphere.
Yeah,
you know.
And I wanted to ask you about one of the things that seemed taboo in the church is seems like musicians are all over it, and that's the secular and the sacred. You know, I can remember being a little church boy drummer, and Helen Woods Cook, who was a legend in the Baptist church, and she would tell us young musicians, "Don't you be playing for the devil. Don't you be playing." You know, it was like really strictly taboo.
Right.
And I can remember the conflict within my own spirit. You know, on one hand, it was because that was the stuff that I was really learning how to play and practice to. You know what I mean?
You can't learn on James Cleveland. All due respect. But that music don't call for, you know, all kind of roles and tricks.
And when I was coming up, Edwin and Walter Hawkins, Andre Crouch, they were the ones to really watch because contemporary gospel music was just coming in before. But the other thing about it was I can remember, because I'm 14, 15, 16, and I remember saying what sounded sacrilege, but it was like, because she would be so hard on us on that. Don't be playing for the devil. But I would say, you know, the devil pays.
Right.
That was really interesting, you know, in my journey. And I wonder, where did you ever have any conflict? Because I would be playing, you know, I started playing in clubs underage, but then on Sunday, I'd be at the drums. On Thursday, I'd be at choir rehearsal. And it was, I'm telling you, spiritually and otherwise, and I don't want to go way down that path, but you have seen so much success on both ends of the spectrum. Was there ever a moment where you had to cross some sort of spiritual or emotional divide to that? Or it was just music?
No, it was, music is not just ever music.
Nah.
I can't. It's this, I can't. You know what I mean?
I knew you were gonna say.
There's a purpose behind the playing. There's there is a mission.
Yes, sir.
There's a mission.
Absolutely.
You know, and the mission is to reach people. And it's a gift that we've been given.
That's right.
To use to impact others.
That's right.
You know, and for me, I know the source of love. Yeah. And that comes from the Father. Yeah. So for me, there has been challenges because there were certain musical expressions that I wanted to share but couldn't in church. And I mean, in fact, in some ways, the musical expression in church is limiting.
Understood.
And the reason is because as an instrumentalist, somebody is always singing.
Yes, sir. I understand that. Yeah.
You know, so when does the pianist get a chance to play the melody? When does the pianist get a chance to improvise? There's not much place for it. You know, the emphasis in church is the word. There's worship, but the purpose of the worship is to accompany people, you know, to get them to focus on what they're saying. The music is to accompany and to set an atmosphere so that people can say what they're saying in these songs and their focus of God be enhanced and they get encouraged and edified, ushering people in the presence of God. But, you know, when you got like a trio, that's a whole different demand.
Yes, sir.
You know, that I love. And I began to really be introduced to it in high school. I was studying with a actually named Jim Garber. Jim Garber, he was the music pastor at Northmar Church for years, for a long time. And he's a graduate of YSU in music. and I began studying classical piano with him. The Lord always has a plan.
Now, how old were you here?
I was like 9th grade.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
He introduced me to the classics and began to introduce me to jazz. It was through him that I first learned the power of transcribing, like playing solos note for note. But that experience really helped in auditioning at the school.
Gotcha.
So, long story short, yeah, there was conflict, but in my heart, I knew that I was to walk both paths. I was to play in the church. I'm a minstrel, Levite. You know, that's who I am. Yes. But I'm also called to be a light in darkness.
Correct. That's absolutely right.
Like, you know,
that's absolutely right.
You know, that's been my journey. And when I started going to college, you know, my professors would start calling me for gigs.
Yeah.
You know, Tony Leonardi.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna play with Tony. Like, yeah. But we would go to, you know, wedding receptions and, you know, banquets and stuff, and would play with him and Kent Engelhardt, and it was lots of fun. And
did you get any pushback from the church?
No. My dad was very, being that he also, you know, coming out of the Church of God in Christ, he went down the road of education, where in the church many times it's frowned upon. Yeah. You know, but he was a trailblazer, and yeah, you can be spiritual but educated too.
That's true.
You know,
absolutely.
And he was a trailblazer that way, and so, you know, I was able to stand on his shoulders, you know, go down the path of education, and so yeah, very supportive. You know, I'm in church many weekends playing I'm playing, like during the talking portion of the service, I'm playing Chopin etudes, and you know what I mean, playing some Rachmaninoff harmonies and Bud Powell, Herbie Hancock movements and stuff. I'm just going. You know what I mean? There was no limitation. So I'm appreciative of that encouraging background, and as the years went on, man, I found myself, you know, there were ministry opportunities in church, but there was also ministry opportunities in jazz clubs.
Oh, definitely.
You know, like one I remember going up to Cleveland to Cleveland Bop Stop. It's now called the Cleveland Settlement.
Right.
And I took a trio. It was a piano, bass, and drums, and did a couple sets there. Yeah. And you know, yeah, there's a bar over there and stuff like that. And but I did arrangements of Amazing Grace, you know, and then had the opportunity to talk about John Newton and how that song was penned. Wow. You know, and just set it up. You know, sure. that was what I saw in church when before somebody sings a song, they share a little story behind it.
That's right.
I was doing that in the jazz club. John Newton, you know, he just had a revelation of God's grace. Yes, sir. You know, here he was killing slaves on the slave ship and all of this stuff, but he had an experience with God and grace, and that's where the song was birthed. You know, but then we went ahead and played some straight ahead, Amazing Grace, and like just went in. Yes, sir. You know, but I personally left that situation saying, yes, I love playing this language, but I love being able to share the story of this song, convey a message, and that's what I'm all about, you know. And that's good word. Yeah, that is. Apostle Paul could speak several languages. That's right. So he could be effective to many people groups. Absolutely. You know, as musicians, I think it's important to do this. Well, that's the path that he's called me on. Gotcha. You know, and the more languages you can speak, the more people you can impact. That's right. So,
no, that's a good theory to live by.
Yeah, that's been my journey.
Well, let me ask you this then, because you've taught music, you still teach. You know, you were teaching at YSU, which is Youngstown State University, and is that where you received your doctorate?
Not there. I received my doctorate at the University of Pittsburgh.
University of Pittsburgh, and you're back in the city of Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah,
right?
I never moved to Youngstown though. When I was teaching at Youngstown, I was driving back and forth.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My goodness. Now, so how long did you stay on the faculty at Youngstown State?
I was there 2 years. First year I came in, learned the system. Next thing, second year they promoted me to the chair of the Jazz Studies department.
Wow.
And was able to make a difference in those 2 years. You know, connect with some students, and yeah, it was a good experience.
So, with respect to teaching, and I want to phrase this question properly, but you know, what was your greatest experience and what was your worst, or what you know? So, for example, if you were running the Alton Merrell School of Jazz, what would be elements that you could not put into it that you really saw? This is what the student needs.
That I couldn't put into it
while you were, you know, and that's no disrespect to the university, because both my girls are students there. So I mean, you know, it is what it is. But I mean, as a professor, you know, I know I'm going to edit this somehow, but you know, when I'm teaching the word, you know, and you know, it's akin to me sitting in that boring Bible study. And I said, when I am able to instruct, you know, the word should come alive to people. So there's things that I try to interject when I'm teaching.
Yes, sir.
The word.
Yes, sir.
Were there restraints that you saw that if I were running the Alton Merrell School of Jazz, here's how I would do it?
Sure. Of course, you have to uphold the protocols and the ethics of the university, you know, so you don't want to, of course in the university you don't want to advocate for a certain faith or religion, you know what I mean? So you want to be careful of that, because, you know, students can file a grievance.
I see.
But as a teacher, the best thing that you can be is an example of what you're teaching. And my experience has been to be the best example I can be, and I found students coming, like being attracted, right? And then they come and they ask questions. They ask questions like how do you do that? Where does that come from? Well, in those conversations, they're coming to me and asking me personally. This is even outside the classroom.
Understood.
So
understood.
I'm a transparent person. I share with them my story and how, you know, it was a gift for me.
Yeah.
There was a part that I played in the cultivation of the gift, but I know where the gift comes from.
Absolutely.
You know, so yes, if I had an opportunity to teach without any restraint or, you know, any what do I want to say?
Restraints is good.
Restraints, okay. Yeah. My main desire, I would want to connect people to the giver of all things.
My.
It's really like relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
Number two is I would like to spend time with them talking about motive. The motive behind why you want to be a good musician.
Sure.
What do you want to do with it?
Sure.
Then the third thing is character.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I found in teaching is that people want outcome. They want excellence. They want great output without the price, paying a price.
My.
And to learn how to pay the price to produce something great, it takes a certain type of character. It takes a strong character.
Absolutely.
So that's what I found myself dealing with quite a bit with the students that I had. Lessons would turn into talking about character. Because I would see, I would assign them certain things, and they would come back next week, and I'm like, where's the fruit?
You didn't do it.
You didn't do it. Well, this and this and this. Well, if you really want it, you won't make excuses.
That's right.
Well, you're here. You're paying your money. Many of your parents are paying money, but you're here. The only way I know that you want it is if you produce the fruit.
That's true.
Integrity. So, integrity. So just practice habit, time management, things. I enjoyed that too, because it's preparing them for the world. Just things like that.
That's correct.
Things that have to be in place that aren't seen in order to produce the scene. And for them is the music. So I enjoyed that well. And then of course you have the music. The language, and that's right. Another thing is it takes time to learn language.
That's true.
You gotta you gotta immerse yourself in it. When you really want to speak a language, you gotta immerse yourself in it, and it creates vulnerability.
Yes, sir.
You struggle, and then you gotta put yourself in performance situations where you gotta speak. And it doesn't feel good. But the more you do it, the better and more fluent you get. Some people, they live in the practice room. They never have an experience where they got to speak. No, come on out. You've been studying. Now come on out.
Share with us then that dynamic of the musician who's shedding.
Yeah.
And then to be pushed to that moment of stage, that breakthrough moment. Yeah. I can imagine one of your joys of seeing that in your students.
Oh.
Is there a story that you can tell about that?
Oh, wow.
Where you can, as the teacher say, whew.
Oh, absolutely, man.
She felt it, or that, you saw that moment.
Yeah, I saw it many times, like directing like a jazz ensemble concert. And when I first introduced a piece, the students was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so hard, but I don't think we can do it." And the language of music that it was calling for was unfamiliar to them. So it was out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But as a teacher, you equip them. You equip them with all they need to succeed. Then you come in and rehearsals, and you work on the detail. You serve as a coach, a motivator, and you motivate them, encourage them. And for me, standing in front of that band at the concert and seeing them hit the ball out the park and experiencing an energy from the band that hasn't been there in a while.
Yes.
To see that and to see them soar, to see a young man who thought he couldn't play a solo on this song kill it. To hear a drummer who started the semester off with bad time play great time. Yeah, great time. Somebody else who doesn't play well in a group setting. Like personality. Sometimes people are in conversations, they never allow anybody else to talk.
That's true.
Yeah. But in jazz, it's a conversation where they learn. Oh, I need to listen to what others are saying. Those things that experience teaches you.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been experiences like that. I've seen a young man play a classical piece that struggled to learn, even knowing how to read. Succeed and do it.
Pick it up.
Yeah.
I know that makes your chest swell.
It does. It really does.
The one dynamic that I'm grateful for is the opportunity to have worked with you at both Meet Me at the Cross.
Yes, sir.
Events here in Youngstown, and watching you whip the band into shape was something that I'm forever grateful for, because your approach to how the musician should embrace the music, and then to break down the various parts, both with the sheet music in front of them, but also with the soul that needs to happen with it. It's something that I really, again, I admired it, and it made life easier for me. Because they immediately, and I saw this in all of the musicians as they came in, both years. I mean, we used the same drummer. I think Terrell might have been the only one. Everybody else was new or interchanged from the 2 years. But immediately, people felt safe with you, Alton. And so that was the thing, that you just bring an atmosphere and an attitude where I can relax. Because at first, when you say, well, Dr. Merrell is going to... But you don't bring that to... You never bring that to the bandstand.
Right.
It's like, hey, here's what we're here to do, and you just roll with it. Now I have to flip the script now. I have to ask you about your perspective on music in general from the perspective of an EntreMusician.
Is there?
So you've done hundreds of gigs, and you've had to deal with managers and booking agents and whatnot, and being that you've recorded product and distribution for CDs, and you've been guest on other people's products. Where do you see music? What do you see the challenges as far as being the EntreMusician who has to do it all? Maintain the website, do everything. Where do you see us going or progressing? What are the challenges? What are we doing, or what are you specifically doing to move that needle forward?
Yeah.
It's a big loaded question.
It is a big loaded question. Well, I think it's important to keep the main thing the main thing.
And the main thing for you is?
Yeah. The main thing for me is creating music with a message that will give people hope.
Yes.
That's what's important.
Yes, sir.
And then allowing others who are good with graphics and everything else surrounding that, let them do that. Let them, because on my first project, I did everything.
Right.
I took the pictures for the project. I learned Photoshop. I learned Illustrator. I got everything from disc makers. I went to New Jersey, got it mastered. I wrote all the songs. I recorded all the songs, mixed all the songs, and it's like, I learned a lot, but what that does is that slows the process of what you are to produce. That's why a team is important.
Absolutely.
Team, let others do what they do.
Sure.
Let the graphics person, let them do what they do. They do that all the time. So let them handle that. Let the person who mixes all the time mix. Yeah. So that's one word advice that I would say as an EntreMusician is keep the main thing the main thing. For me, it's the music. So every day, daily, I gotta set aside time to create music, and be intentional about it, and because my musical voice is the piano. There's time for that, because you want to be able to speak fluently in any situation.
What are your disciplines as you go about your week with respect to, Sunday to Sunday?
Okay.
Because you're doing a lot. You're doing you're teaching.
Yeah.
You're gigging. What does that look like?
So, like my personal musical disciplines. Yeah. Well, on a daily basis, I devote time to specific areas. One area is technique. If you're going to execute anything musically, you got to be fit. You got to be able to move up and down. So there's exercises, there's certain technical things that just do on a daily basis. Gotcha. There's technique. I like to spend a little bit of time just sight reading something.
New stuff, or stuff that you're unfamiliar with?
Yes, stuff that I'm unfamiliar with. Just, when you read something, your speed gets better.
Gotcha.
The more you do anything, the better you get at it.
Yes, sir.
So, my journey has shown that there's some situations you haven't even heard the music that you're about to play in an hour. You show up to the rehearsal, here's the music, and you got a performance where people are paying tickets.
Right.
to come, and you gotta play. And so been doing that a long time, but it's just something that it's a habit that I like to just keep using. And that's right. So there's sight reading exercises. I'll just sight read a couple pieces a day. What else? Technical sight reading. Then there's tunes. I got my jazz tunes. Just run through a song. Play through it. Just play in different keys. And then there's the gospel stuff. And that's every weekend I'm playing that. So there's stuff to learn, in preparation for the weekend for church.
Right.
And then there's I call it language. I got my gospel language. So there might be some musicians that, I really like their sound. Yeah. Well, I'll get an audio file of it, and I'll just learn it. And that language become my language. And the same thing with jazz.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of it. And then there's composition.
Yeah. So how much time do you have? Do you have time to write?
I do. I make time. Yeah. I make time.
So you're on a grid. You're on a schedule. Which,
that's how I'm most productive.
Me too. Yeah,
I got, if there's time, if I make time for it, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And I follow I got my app, and but it all starts. We were talking about it. You were talking about the 3 M's.
Yes.
That's exactly how I got a life mission statement.
Right.
And that life mission statement, there's pointed areas, specific areas that are important to my life mission.
That's right.
That I look at on a weekly basis, and I make sure I'm planting seeds in those areas. One of them, husband.
That's right.
That's father.
Right. That's right.
That's right.
So give a shout out to your beautiful family, man. You have a beautiful family.
I'm so thankful for my family, man.
Give a shout out.
I give a shout out first of all to my wife, Hada.
Yeah.
The Lord bless my socks off with her. She's just a beautiful person, selfless person. She has the gift of helps.
Yes, sir.
And
I can tell you this, and I'll tell you this because we were doing rehearsals. There were 10 o'clock rehearsals, and you had your children with you, your beautiful wife with you, and she was maintaining while you were up there instructing the band. And it's like 11:30.
11:30. Right.
And you got to drive back to Pittsburgh.
And got to drive back.
So I was like,
and she was like, I want to drive back. She's like, I want to drive back.
Yeah, man.
And so I don't take that for granted at all. It's a blessing when you have a wife that truly wants to help you.
Yes, sir.
And so shout out to my wife. I love her so much. And then my son and my daughter, who I love. My son is shout out to Jaden.
Yeah.
And my daughter Zion. My son is 10 years old.
And he just had a birthday.
Yes, he's 10. Yep, just had a birthday. Actually, in May.
In May, okay.
Just started 5th grade.
That was during the performance.
Yeah.
So he just started
5th grade.
Yes, sir.
And my daughter's in 3rd grade.
Wow.
And they both study piano. They've been studying piano for some years now. They've done participated in 3 recitals already.
Oh my goodness! So the legacy is started.
Yeah, I figured, and it was prophesied too that they would play. And but I said, what better way for them to understand a big portion of their dad than to play the instruments, and to learn and and they have it, so if they choose to go into it, that's fine. If not, then whatever God has for them, I want. But it is beautiful and a joy to see them playing music too.
That's beautiful.
Enjoying it. Mm-hmm.
So, tell me, what is it about sitting down for a conversation like this that you would most like people to remember about you?
Wow. One, I would say I would want them to remember the fact that I acknowledge that God has given me a gift, and that the gift comes from Him, and that they would say that brother used that gift for the glory of God and to minister love, the love of Christ to other people through music. That's and trained others to do the same.
And that's so succinct, brother.
That's part of my mission. That's my big mission.
That is succinct.
To do and teach. Be an example, and then to raise up others. I didn't tell you, man. I'm in the process of launching a school.
Is that right? Is that going to be in Pittsburgh?
It's going to be in Pittsburgh, but here it's a subscription-based website.
Excellent.
And this site is going to have piano lessons, it's going to have courses, and it's going to also have teachings.
Excellent.
So
when is this coming out?
It's going to be released at the top of the year.
Very cool.
In the process of working with a web developer now.
Now, AltonMerrell.com, is that where it's going to be?
Nope, it's going to be Minstrel School of Worship.
Excellent.
And it's going to teach various styles too.
See, this is what I'm talking about, EntreMusician. This is what I'm saying. So you get those guide ideas and you implement them.
And in essence, it's just packaging everything that I've had the opportunity to learn and packaging the experiences to train up others.
Now, will there be different subscription models for, a beginner or intermediate?
There's piano lessons, and there's, they'll learn jazz techniques and gospel. Those are the emphasis.
Now, you're incorporating some of that now. Correct?
Oh yeah, I do. That is at altonmerrell.com right now, and the structure of that is primarily teaching students how to play songs. Songs that are played in churches now. They can go there and purchase a lesson. The song title is there, and they can purchase that. And then I made tutorials just breaking down the songs. Goes from this chord to that chord, naming it, explaining why it's called that. Wow. And man, and it's been a blessing. Man, I've taught people in places I didn't even know exist. There's Reunion Island, which is a little island off of the coast of Africa. A French and English speaking gentleman. He studied with me for like 3 years through the internet.
Wow.
And he loves gospel. And unfortunately, in that place, that is not much accessibility.
I see.
Now,
how did he find you?
Internet.
I mean, but what did he just Google gospel music?
Yeah.
Really?
Google, yep. Lessons. He Googled lessons. And he saw a video. Because I have, having an entrepreneurial spirit too. What I did years ago is I just started putting like little samples on YouTube of these videos, and it would give the tutorial up to a certain point, and then it would end. And it would say, if you want the full tutorial, click this link to go to the website. And they would go to the website and they would download. And I mean, all kind of people just started reaching out.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I'm talking Australia, Reunion Island, Europe, all over, in the U.S. too. And the thing is I'm not saying that to say, I'm international. But the beautiful thing is these people were learning these things, then they were going back to their churches and being a blessing to their congregation. And for me, I'm like, the joy of being able to pour into one person and that one person goes and blesses many, I said, for me, that's living. That's multiplying what God has given you to be a blessing to other people. So that's why I'm doing this website. It's a place that they can come and get a whole lot of content of how to and then they go and be a blessing in their communities.
And that's coming up on the top of the year.
Top of the year. Minstrel School of Worship.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to be talking about minstrel and what David did.
That's right.
You know, and, you know, the philosophy behind that, and dealing with their why. There's going to be spiritual teachings like, what does it truly mean to play under the anointing? You hear so much of this in the church world, you know, but what does playing under the anointing really mean?
Yeah.
What does it truly mean to be a minstrel? Is there really devil's music or not? You know,
Understood.
is there a secular C major chord and a sacred one?
Not that I've heard.
Yeah, you know, how to read music, how to read chord symbols.
Wow. You know, I mean, I know this is not going to be our only conversation, so I might want to leave this for the second interview. But I have to ask in the sense that, well, it goes back to that conflict, and we've settled it. But with respect to the honorariums that, you know, some churches. Again, I want to be sensitive because I mean I grew up in the church. You know what I mean, and different denominations treat honorariums different ways. You know, but I thought, and you know, I felt this from the earliest time, that the most encouragement that you can give to a young up and coming budding musician is some sort of financial blessing. It doesn't have to be, you know, $3,000 a week or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But something to say, hey, because like I said, for me, how do you keep me out of the clubs on Friday? Because I'm making my bones and playing. You know what I'm saying? It's not to say that there's a demonic C chord. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, you know, what do you feel, I guess, without me, you know, trying to pontificate, what do you feel? Because my perspective is it would be a great thing for every church to set aside a budget. You see that 13-year-old, you see that 15-year-old who's coming up on the organ to say, let me bless them, rather than, you know, you're doing the Lord's work. And
in 2018, it is now common. In many places, it's common to uphold that idea of paying musicians.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's appropriate. You know, it's biblical.
Yeah.
It's biblical.
The workman is worthy of his hire.
That's right. And, you know, when you do the research, the musicians, they came from the tribe of Levi.
Yes, sir.
And
they didn't have anything else. That was it. That was the juice.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they served. So I think it's biblical. I do think, though, that it's important for churches to not just nurture the musical gift and pay them, but they need to be concerned about the whole man.
That's correct.
And many churches aren't that. As long as they come and play that instrument, they give them their check, but they don't care about nothing else.
Yeah, that's interview number 2.
I understand. Okay,
because really, even as far as like, you know, the bands that I've been involved in and been blessed to lead, it's not just about the chops.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'd rather take a guy with less chops, but he or she has heart, has integrity, is dependable, and has that spirit that I'm looking for, because then I know the anointing is going to come and do what God has sent it to do. His spirit, you know. Right. But if I take the guy that's just and he's all up and down the neck, but there's nothing else, there's going to be problems.
There is going to be problems. Because in church, the music is not the focus.
Right.
The music is to accompany what's being said.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
So that's the thing. That's like we was talking about earlier.
That's right.
The musicians and the music has a certain subservient place in the church. It's important, but it's to accompany the singers.
That's right.
It's an accompaniment. It ain't about you. You know.
All right. So this is Alton Merrell. Okay. Dr. Alton Merrell. And I say that with much respect, much love to you. And he is an EntreMusician. you know, all of our videos are sponsored by the great folks at Vocal. It's the only beverage on the planet designed to soothe, refresh, and restore your voice. This has been a great conversation. It's going to be the first of a few. So you'll see Brother Alton again. You are on our EntreMunity website. You are our EntreMusician of the Month. I figured September, school's in.
All right.
Bring the doctor on point. You know what I mean? But I am the EntreMusician. It's Jere B. This is Dr. Merrell. We are EntreMusicians. But you know what? So are you. Peace and blessings to you. See you next time.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir.